Hi everybody, this is Lynn from Creative Concept Crafts with this week's release, or part release, and it's the beautiful Tiger Lily collection. And this was a request from the competition that we're still holding, but it had actually been partially on my desk for a while, so I decided to completely see it through. So how beautiful is that? Isn't that so pretty? Not a difficult flower to do. It's in 6 sizes. There's 5 sizes there. And we're going to be completing the larger of the flowers in the video today. If you're doing the tiger lily flowers, I would advise you maybe to Google some pictures, just to give you an idea when you come to colouring and inking and looking for colour combinations, just what colours you can use. There's so many, from white to oranges, yellows, pinks. They've got some of them with speckle throats, some don't have, some have frilly edges, some are straight, and you can go so many different ways. So we're doing something that I don't do a lot of. We're doing a little bit of colouring and inking on the tiger lily because, as I said, they've got all sorts of speckles and deeper coloured throats, and which you can't get with a plain cardstock. So I'm just starting off with the sepal, and I'm just inking the edges with a felt tip. You could do it with an ink pad just as easily. I'm working on a piece of cardstock that I've sent through the laminator, so it's an easy quick wipe clean. And don't forget to colour on both sides of your piece, because it's going to be rolled up so you'll see both sides. There's no magic if you haven't, there's nothing anybody can't do here. If you haven't got any felt pens, if your children have got any, just pinch them for what it is. There's nothing expensive here. I think I bought these from Lidl's, the double-ended ones. So I don't do an awful lot, so I'm not one for colouring and that, so I don't spend a fortune on this sort of thing. But there we go. It's just a basic colour on the tips. And I'm going to come in with a greeny colour now. This I've cut out in white, and if you look at the insides of the flowers, some are done in like a lemony colour, which I used on the pink flowers. Some are greeny on the inside, so this is like a limey emeraldy green, and I'm just very lightly just dusting underneath the bits that I've just coloured orange. So it's just to give it a hint of colour and still leaving the white showing through as well. So we're getting a blend of colours. It's a bit difficult for that to show up on the camera, but hope you can get the idea of what I'm trying to do. So we're going to ink the flower now. Just before we go on, there's 2 large parts of the flower, 2 small parts which are mats. Now you can either use those or not. There's the sepal that we've just inked and the leaf, along with a length of wire, the length of the stem on the leaf, or just a little bit shorter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces to be cut for each flower. You don't need to use the mat. You could actually create 2 separate flowers with these and just do them 2 and 2. I'm going to glue the 2 pieces together to give you the 2 colour, but you could equally ink the centre of the flower to give you that darker tone if you wish, if you enjoy that sort of thing. Like I said, there's so many options. I'm just using the ink pad just to go around the edges. Could use a brush, but I think just for the edges it's just as easy to just run it along the edge of your ink pad. Don't have to be careful with this because nature is not exact, so it's just a rough run around just to add another colour dimension to your flower. I'm going to do the same thing on the coral cardstock. I've used a pale peach and I've used a coral. I'm using red on the coral and I used orange on the pale peach. So it's just a darker tones, just to give you the tone on tone of a flower. So there's a pink one that I did that I've just used darker coloured pens for the dotting inside. I'm going to be doing that in a couple of minutes. On the darker colour, I'm also going to just ink the centre throat of the flower, because quite often on lilies the centre bit is also deeper than the rest of the flower. So I'm just going in there on the centre and just coming up to the outer part of the petal. Probably the centre and maybe up to about the third of the flower. Very difficult to see it actually, but it is there. So that's the inking completed. The leaf is just a flat piece, but we will be shaping that, as we will of course the flower and the sepal. So that's the part of the messy crafting, as I would say, completed. Now we're on to mounting the mat to the base. So I'm just gluing the whole thing. This flower has actually been completed in real time. I haven't done any speeding up at all today with this. And this flower shape is not quite symmetrical. The top and the bottom of the flower are slightly longer than the sides. So make sure you get the mat correct. The mat will only sit straight as a mat when it's the right way round. So if you need to just wiggle it round, but there it is. It is a perfect mat onto the base. So we're going to repeat the same thing. Just turning it round until I get it the right way round. Thing is, when you pick them up, you can see there how the mat doesn't work if it's not the right way. And there, it's showing you how the mat should look when it's in its correct position. When you start gluing and turning and twisting round, it's very easily to move it away from where it needs to be. So just be careful when you've glued it and you're ready to lay it down that you sort of rotate it round to the correct position before you press it down. So there is our mat of the petals completed. The darker centred one will come to the top, and I'm just going to randomly just dot down those centre petals. I'm putting a few more where I did the deeper throat. The other piece will be hidden underneath, so concentrate on sort of the edges of the petal on that part. Just going in to do a few more. You can do dots and dashes. Like I said, everyone's different, but there's I think you can just about make out the spots. So I'm just going to, if you line them up first and then just turn 180 for the other part. Okay, so now we're ready to do a little bit of shaping before we put the flower together. So what I'm doing here is just pushing it down into an old mouse mat, the wrong side of an old mouse mat, just to give it like a bowl shape in the centre. And I'm just using a ball tool for this. Just push down and roll around until you're happy with the bowl shape. Can you see that? I'm going to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side. If you've got the larger ball tools, which I know quite a lot of you flower makers will probably have, I'm just going to grab mine actually because it's a larger flower than I've been doing. So just roll it, keep rolling round, keep pushing down. I'm turning it over into a slightly smaller one, but get a nice rounded bowl shape, and it'll really sit nicely when you come to put it together. So I think you can see there, before we glue it together, the type of finished effect we're going to gain. So I'm just going to glue now the sepal piece. So it's the long bottom edge. I'm just going to shape it just a little bit so that it makes it easy to, once we start to roll it and glue it, it just goes together a little bit easier. I'm going to glue right down that little long narrow edge. And then roll between your finger, trying to keep it as round as you can. So sort of roll it between your fingers as you go to try and keep it circular. I'm trying to keep the outer edge level and just keep rolling and squeezing. Keep it nice and as tight as you can as you're rolling round. If anybody's got a quilling tool, that's also a great one to use. I don't have, but I know, again, you can use quilling tools for doing the roll. Okay, so can you see? We've got the circle and we've got the sepals. Now just gently tease, just while I'm holding on to that to help it to the glue to bind, you can just tease the sepals away. Leave the long stigma in the middle. Just pull the other pieces just round the outside of it until you're happy. Don't pull them too far out, but you just need them away from the centre a little bit. Okay. I think you can get the general idea. It's like I'm having another little bit of a tweak. So that's ready. The flower's ready. There's just the leaf. So what we're going to do is add hot glue down the centre of the leaf. When my glue gun decides it's going to work, we'll get there in a minute. There we go, it's off. This is where you need asbestos fingers, putting the wire on and then pushing it down. If you're not confident at doing this, just add the glue a bit at a time. And if you miss a bit, don't worry, you can go back in and add, which you'll see me do actually because it didn't bite at the end. But it's no biggie. You don't see that once the flower's finished anyway. If you're going to make these flowers for cards, these I'm actually making for them to sit into a box. So that's why I'm putting the wire into the leaf. If you were doing it for a card, don't put the wire in, but continue the shaping exactly as I'm going to do once I've finished the construction of the flower. But don't put the wire because you'll need it a little bit softer on a card. Then, like I said, I'm creating another project for this to go into, and I need the wire, I need the stiffness of the wire to hold them in position. So we're ready now to glue the flower together. So a good dob in the middle. Now I haven't done it, but when you put this together, put it on your mat, your foam mat, and push down with the ball tool. Again, trying to retain that bowl shape. I've squished it flat there, and I should have put it on the mat to get a little bit more bowl shape into it. Add a little bit of glue to the edge of where you've rolled it. So the circular bit that you're gluing to and add to the centre of the flower. So that's our flower completed. It just needs shaping. Just getting rid of all the excess bits of string from the glue. Now to shape, bend it back about 90 degrees. These are the back petals from the base piece at the back. Bend them back about 90 degrees and then let it slide between your finger, your thumb and the bone folder. So it's every other petal, which is one of the complete pieces at the back of the flower. And then I'm curling the edges of the tips right back. Some lilies are like that. Some lilies are like the ones I haven't shaped. Can you see the real curl on the edge there? Some of the petals are left as they are on the front. This particular one, I'm going to take just the edges, so about the outer half of the petal. So the back piece is bent back more than the front piece is. And if you want, you can just sit those forward a little bit, which is what I'm doing now, just teasing that bowl shape in just a little bit more. Just until you're happy, and just tweak away. It's not going to do the flower any harm at all. And there's our little flower. So you could leave it there. But girls, if you know me, you know I like my bling. So I'm going to be adding some glitter. But first, I'm going to shape the leaves. Now, the leaves on lilies go downwards. Unusual. Normally leaves go up, but these actually shape down. So they go forward, they go back, and they go out to the side. So gently holding the leaf where it joins the stem so that you can twist and pull the card into shape. Be careful you don't pull them off. I've done that a few times. It doesn't really matter, minus a leaf. Who's going to know how many leaves were there in the first place? But just be careful. Tease some to the back, some to the front, and some to the side. So you're getting like a three-dimensional leaf shape. So there's our completed leaf. Can you see what I mean about it being sort of twisted either which way? Forward, sideways, backwards. They just curl, and they curl back like the petals of the flower do. And now we're just going to bend the tip of the leaf forward so that you're actually showing the wire forward. Don't worry, we're going to add glue to that and cover it with the flower. So I'm just going to add hot glue over the wire and onto the stem. And then we can add the centre of the flower to the stem. Just holding it until the hot glue just takes hold. And there's our beautiful tiger lily. Like I said, you can stop there if you're happy with your inking and your dots, or not, whichever way you've decided to go. But I love my bling, so I've got to add a bit of glitter. So the dots, I'm going to just randomly set glue dots down the centre of the deep coral. I'm not counting, I'm not trying to get them equal, I'm just randomly dotting away. And in comes, this is a mixture. I think I must have thrown about half a dozen different colours into the pot. probably small bits that I had of different colours of glitter, but it works really well with because of the random colour with that. Isn't that so pretty? So there's our beautiful tiger lily collection. Like I said, look out for the other part of the collection, which I'm working on as we speak. Happy crafting until the next time. Bye for now.